I mean, it's so cool that like this is even a thing. You know what I mean? So
Thank God for the internet, right?
dude, yes. And it's not even that like it contributes to making this, but like I'm having so much fun in here.
It's well, the coolest thing about being able to do your own, like being able to create your own thing, and it's all 100%. Like you don't got to go and rent out studio time. You don't got to go and pay somebody else, and then have it. Then you got to,
Yeah.
pay somebody to edit your videos. You learned it all on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You filmed it all on your own. It's your own
Straight up.
space, and you can do whatever the hell you want in it.
Yeah.
That's the coolest part.
That is the coolest part. And it's like I was over there editing, and like I said, my sister came in. That episode will be out soon. And she just saw me working over there. Like, I mean, if you look at the screen.
Yeah, it's huge, by the way. You
Yeah,
have a TV for a computer.
But like when I opened that software, my exact words, no joke. I was like, oh, people use Adobe Premiere Pro. And I opened it and I did this. Fuck off. Like, because it's so much on one screen.
Yeah.
But then I just had to like, dude, this isn't my first one, by the way.
Your first
podcast type.
Oh, okay.
So I fucked up 3 others before that just because, not like me personally. I didn't mean to say it like that. But like someone wasn't consistent and someone wasn't willing to be there once a week. And I'm like, dude, like it has to be consistent. And up until this last month, I wasn't able to. And this last month was like the roof collapsed. Like if life had a roof, dude, it came in hard. And it hit me with like all these things I had to deal with right now. So then the big one was I couldn't be up here because I had to be other places or appointments or like, I have a 9-year-old.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, how old are you?
I'm 26.
What the hell? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, she's not going to watch this. Like, you know what I mean?
She ain't going to see it. Who cares?
She's not going to watch this, right? And if she has to make it 3 minutes anyways. And so I didn't think that was even going to happen. And I was maybe 16, fresh 16 when he got here. And so it was like, that was my reality. That was the reality check. Yo, you're an adult now, dude.
Yeah. Comes at you fast, doesn't it?
Dude, yeah. And I'm like, oh, this thing literally can't wipe his own ass. Like, I have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, he will need me forever.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was easy. That was the easy part. The hard part is like all the extra drama that comes with, the other half of, not the creator, I would say that, but like, like there's always
the co-creator.
The co-creator, yeah.
The incubator.
And like I said, it's just everything came in. The roof fell through, and the big one was I got hit by a car like 3 years ago. I was at a stoplight, and I got hit in the back of my Camry, and it pushed. He thought he could run the light, so I was at this. It went yellow, then it went to red, and I slowed down. But for whatever reason, he thought I was going to keep going.
He thought you were going to punch it too.
So then he punched it and then hit me, and then he was going 30 miles an hour, and I'm just sitting straight. So he pushed me into the other cars, and then we all peeled over, and then a cop just happened to be like behind us. And so pulled in, took all the information, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like shaking.
Of course.
I'm trying to get to work. It's 9:00 at night. I worked night shift at that time. And I didn't know what I was doing. Like, this is my first wreck ever. I'm like,
yeah, it's weird when you like, when that does first happen, you're like, I really haven't been taught exactly the exchange process, what we're doing, what I got to tell you. Like,
this wasn't in college or high school. Like, where am I going to learn?
Yeah.
Okay, you've just been hit by a car. And you're like,
yeah, now what?
Okay, God. And so she's asking for this information. She put something down wrong. Then I went to like court a month later and like had to explain like, no, that wasn't the right information. I was shook up. This is the right information. Okay, documented it. That was it.
Yeah.
Come to find out, since like a month as she filed it, she had filed it wrong. So the number that was on my card was not the right number for the account. So something got crossed in the whole system of the DMV and the Kansas state. And so I'm at my new job. I've been there about 4 or 5 months. I'm up here in the city. So this was it's like 7 minutes from here. And when that happened, they did like a background check and all this kind of stuff. Like I cleared, never had a ticket. That's my first accident.
Yeah.
Which is
And it wasn't even your fault.
which is the worst way to go. Like your first accident, like, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No one told me what to do. Like I have insurance.
They didn't have wrecking class. They had driving class.
yeah. I mean, we'll get back to that. There's a funny story about my driving class. And so that whole thing happened. It wasn't my fault. The information got filed wrong. When they did the lookup, they were like, your license is suspended, dude. And I go, that's funny.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. And they looked it up and it was suspended. So then I had to go find out why. And then I got to the whole, dude, I called anything that had vehicle and Kansas, right? Like Kansas
Called
vehicle.
them up.
Dude. And I was on hold or they would hang up. So this whole month it was suspended. And then I was like, well, if I get pulled over, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't go anywhere. So after all of that, I finally got it situated. We're back to valid. Okay. But I talked to, thank you, Caroline at the Kansas
Shout
department.
out to you, Caroline.
Caroline.
You're a real G.
If you get this, I know my Google SEO is perfect. Like if this gets to you somehow, you know what I mean? And so it was just that with all the drama, trying to get to these appointments with my kiddo for something that isn't me. It's just ridiculous. And so I just was this guy who's like, I found out why I relate to these fighters so much and why they relate to you guys. It's that same like attitude. It's like, okay, this is the problem. Here's the thing life gave me. I'm going to kill it regardless. It's like, it could be anything, just a go-getter type attitude. And it's like, that shit's contagious. And when I have every guy, like I told you before, every guy who came in here, sat in that chair, they go, do you know Josh? Do you know Blake at Rooted? And I'm like, I do not.
That's still wild to me. When you told me that, I was like, dude,
you guys didn't know.
No idea. I mean, excuse me. I knew that obviously we were in the gym and I've made connections with fighters. Like two guys that I love talking to are one of my favorite people to talk to is Don Shameless Don Shamus.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Don Juan himself. He's the Boston brawler, the Massachusetts murderer.
He's the guy.
Dude, he's awesome. And so I've talked to him multiple times. We'll chat back and forth. So it's funny because I didn't come into it from an interviewing aspect when Josh and I started Rooted MMA. I came into it like I wanted to give fighters a space to not just promote themselves, but to talk about whatever they wanted, what was on their mind, what's been going on, training camp, life problems, baby mama issues, just life, like whatever life's been throwing at you or where you came from. Me and Josh wanted a space where fighters could explain their story and not feel like it's a cookie cutter interview where you get the same damn questions every freaking time and you have these rehearsed answers that you've kind of programmed because you know what these lame interviewers are going to ask you.
Dude, I never got it. They're all the same.
They're all the same. And I get it. Interviewing is an art.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think that's something that I always kind of navigated to. Even when I was in college, I got a degree in sports journalism.
Oh, dope.
And sports broadcasting, actually, not sports journalism. I wasn't a great writer. I was just I played college football at Austin Peay State. And then when I was done, I was like, yo, I'm in sports broadcasting. And everything we did at Austin Peay was student run.
Okay.
So everything from the lighting, the cameras, the technical directors, the producers, and the commentators were all students.
Yeah.
So I got an early start calling football games on TV and radio as color commentator and play-by-play.
Oh, nice.
So that's where, and NFL is really where I played every sport growing up, but I got into, I was like, yo, what better profession would I love to do than stay in the lane of sports and be able to interview people and give them a platform to elevate themselves. And so, it's weird when I see people there, whether they're writing a story, whether they're just there to raise their hand and get a question in. I don't want to be the focal point of the interview. Of course, I love to be an entertainer. I love to give people what they want, but I wanted a space where these fighters, especially linking up with the guys over at Glory, all of them, all three of the Glories, and getting to know these guys in the local circuit, a space to where they can really shine and promote themselves.
Yeah. I mean, they don't get that. That's the thing that they like. I knew I didn't when I got here, so for example, I was going to tell you the story of this space. Like, it wasn't just
Which
me.
is fucking sick, by the way.
Oh, thank
this
you.
This is by far the coolest space I have ever been in for a show. So thank you. Even I mean, yeah, we had
One
we'll
sec,
get
let me-
into yeah,
I need-
we'll
I
get
need-
into it.
I
Go
need-
ahead.
I need to talk to Chase here for a sec. Clip that, cut it, post it. Okay, like immediately. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Not paid or anything, by the way.
This shout out was brought to you by Liquid Death.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was the thing that I was shocked when Josh was here. I'm like, you guys don't know the impact. And I was like, there's so much, like, when you have the freedom to not necessarily be like, oh yeah, baby mama did, fuck you. Like, that's not what they do.
Mhm.
They have worked. I've been in the gym with these dudes. Like, they work harder than anybody I've ever seen in my entire life. Right. I watched Alejandro Gomez, right? Like, really buckling down. Like, I'm over here chowing down. They came in, we did an interview, and then we watched Black Panther like months ago, like for my
Sweet.
birthday. And we're at this Mexican restaurant, and I'm just going to town on this burrito, like queso all over it. And this is Gomez. He has a chip. He's like, "Yep." He's like, "That's good queso." And then he just like, he has a very strict. He like looks at his phone. I'm like, dude, that alone, I could not do that for 2 weeks probably. I'm like, okay, like let's not eat what I want to do. Like,
Oh, you mean just the discipline?
discipline.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
word. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, they train 2-3 times a day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for years at a time. And I'm like, someone's got to feel what I feel when I'm with you guys. And the same thing you just described. It's like they don't get to do that. They only get it if they're a Conor McGregor or they're top 10 in UFC and finally get recognition. And I'm like, yo, on the way, you guys have to be able to like see what someone else like me, like I see. And that's when I started reaching out to these dudes, and it's gone better than I thought it would ever go.
Well, and it's so funny, you know, you talk about kind of the discipline. So we bring guys into the studio, and Josh and I, when we were really heavy doing Rooted, you know, we'd like to have a good time.
Yeah, and
the space was free.
And I do want to get back to I totally cut you off on that.
No,
but
you're
like,
good.
If there's a start to finish on that, because I am so curious in how you guys hooked all that up.
Yeah, no. So I'll get to that here in a second. So
Got you.
But yeah, one of the things about the fighters is like we'd bring guys into the studio, and Josh and I would usually like to have a drink or just feel relaxed, make the fighter feel comfortable, so they're not all tense and everything. And the thing was, I think everybody who left the studio, to my surprise, was like, dude, this was awesome. This was one of my favorite interviews I've done because it didn't feel like I was here again, the 5 minutes, 10 minutes answering the same questions I always get. You guys allowed us to expand and just kind of feel comfortable, talk about whatever I wanted to, share funny stories. The stories these guys bring to the table are awesome.
The best.
The regiment part of it, when we would offer drinks, some guys would want to drink with us. Other guys wouldn't want to drink. They'd be just having water because they're training or they're getting ready for a fight. And then we'd have, won't name fighters, but some of them would be like, hey, I want to drink, but I don't want it to look like it. Can you guys just pour it in a cup and I'll act like I'm drinking water?
Yeah.
That was the funniest one to me. I'm like, dude, I totally respect that. So
it's like it's discipline, but also like
it's discipline, but like
I'm
wink,
disciplined.
I can still have a brew though. What's up? But no, if you wanted me to get into the whole how Rooted started, it was kind of funny. So I started working at Sports Radio 810 here in Kansas City, which I got into I still work in radio. We'll get to that other part, but
again, they can hear this. Did you turn on the rumble chairs? Oh, it's raining outside.
It's raining
Gotcha,
outside. By the way,
outside.
we're recording this in the middle of a monsoon in Kansas. I think this is the first episode it's ever rained.
Yeah, it's the first one that I've been in here where it was like a time where it rained.
It comes in waves and monsoons here, so we are in the middle of a monsoon at the moment. We had a beautiful day yesterday, and then God started crying apparently. So
I gave you enough.
But no, I started working at Sports Radio 810, I believe, in February of 2019. And Josh Byers, shout out to you, BZ Byers, love you, buddy.
You're coming back in. I want you guys. I want all a group.
Yes, I would love to do a group interview. It'd be awesome. Yeah. A group hangout session. But I started working there, and Josh was actually the weekend guy. And he had interned for Seren Petro on 610, and that's how he got his gig there. And I came in, and he was actually, I started working, picking up some shifts, and then he actually was on his way out. He wanted to go do some other things. And so we became friends and started talking, and actually ended up, when he left, I took over his position. So he was the weekend guy. So I started
Oh,
doing all the
dope.
weekend gigs, waking up at 5 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays and going into the studio and doing all that.
Power to you, man. Power
Yeah.
to you.
Hey, I'll tell you what, working 7 days a week and then having to do that, at least it was fun. You know,
Yeah, for real.
I would never knock it. You know, it sucks waking up early, but at least you get to do something you love. So I wasn't bitching about that. But we got into it. Me and him started chatting it up. He was a big football fan. He's a big Eagles fan. Luckily, Kansas City beat you guys in the Super Bowl.
Did you say Josh was an Eagles
Josh is a huge Eagles fan.
fan? Well, now he can't come back.
No,
He can't come back.
yeah, give him some grace. They're good at least. They got the other Kelsey brothers, so that's the only reason he gets a pass.
Okay, Josh, you're back in.
They're back. You're back in the band.
You're back.
So we started talking, and I realized he was a big MMA guy and had a passion for it, and I can tell he did, and so did I. And we started talking, and we would watch the fights and stuff. And then one day, me and him were like, "Hey, you want to just record like an offshoot, like you and I breaking down some of these fights and breaking down some fighters and some upcoming things?" And so we just started recording ourselves randomly in the studios at 810, and we kept doing it. And probably about 6 or 7 episodes in, we were like, he had made a connection, and I forget the exact connection he had, but he had made a connection with some of the fighters over at Glory. And so he was like, "Hey man, I got this idea. Maybe we can bring in some of these fighters and start interviewing them." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, that would be awesome. I would love that." So we, laid out a plan for how we were going to do it. We got the studio, we got the cameras. And at first, and you can see the evolution in front of your face as each interview happens. There's more and more cameras, better space, different things.
I did some digging.
I'm sure you did. You're a sleuth, good sir.
Yeah, sleuth in the tropical.
Sherlock Holmes over there.
Oh, yes.
Chaselock Holmes.
Oh, yes. I did the research and I saw the progression. It was great.
My good Watson. And so eventually we brought in the first fighter. And I think the first fighter that we interviewed was via Zoom. So it wasn't even an in-studio thing because we hadn't really set the studio up yet, but we wanted to get rolling. And I believe it was either Josh Fremd or Derek Minner.
Okay, yeah.
One of those two. I forget what order it is now. It's been 2.5, maybe almost 3 years since we started.
And it's still getting talked about.
Well, that's the crazy thing. And Josh and I haven't even done it in almost a year now. We've done our own things, but with just that aspect of it, because I don't work at 810 anymore. So we don't have the access to that studio.
There's one right here.
So, but yeah, it evolved, and we just started. We brought in a producer who we met, and he was fantastic, Mike of the Don Juan, and he started being our producer. So Josh and I would bring these guys in, set up the interviews, let these guys just roll, tell us their story, tell us everything about them. Some of my favorite interviews were, and the guys that going back to the guys that I made good connections with was Don Shanis. That dude's a stud.
Yeah.
And he
Straight
will
up.
he will be successful in the UFC, I believe. I promise you that. He just his work ethic, his mentality. And then the other one of my favorite guys to talk to was Jeff Molina.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
El Jefe, bro.
Dude, I remember he walked into Marathon, so the Overland Park location, and it was as he got his contract, I watched him on, he pulled up in a Tesla. And
he's got that. He loves that Tesla.
Yeah. And you watch this dude like murder people who are like, it's hard to describe, but I'm watching him. I'm like, I know him. And he's brutalizing this man on TV. And watching somebody you consider, and I hate to like be like, "Oh yeah, we're friends, bro. We're friends." They consider us friends. I don't look at it like that, but it's somebody that you've made a connection with, who recognizes you. Like when you walk into when we would go to Glory and actually just watch practice. Oh yeah,
Mike would be taking pictures. Me and Josh would just be watching the guys, and when they point at you and head nod in the corner, that's one of the coolest fucking things, and it's such a small thing. It's such a small thing, but like. You're like, damn, that guy remembers me. That guy recognizes me. And who the fuck am I? You're the one fighting. Like, who the fuck am I, dude?
Yeah, it makes you push harder as well.
Hell yeah. Well, it makes you feel like you not broke through. It makes you feel like you created some sort of lasting impression that made somebody remember who you were. You know what I mean?
Beautifully spoken. Just by what you said right there, broadcasting for sure. Like
I've had a lot of practice.
And so I got the same thing. I went there to learn how to fight because when I went there, it was probably 3 years ago. It was like COVID. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
all of this started during COVID, which is crazy.
which is even I got to talk to a guy on one of these mini podcasts that didn't work out. Well, this one was for the consistency of the person I was doing it with.
Yeah.
We hooked up with someone who has a successful Amazon type deal, and he sold sunglasses.
Okay.
Woodies is what they're called.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah, so we got to talk to the guy who runs that, and I remember him during COVID looking at us because it was in my apartment at the time. It was just makeshift. It was like I was like, okay, here we go. We're gonna get this thing rolling. Then apartment to studio. So like my plan was already in here. It's just I was missing some pieces. And as I was building, I was like, shit, I can do that. And so we got to talk to him. And I'll never forget, he looked like dead. It was Zoom, but he looked right at us and goes, the fact that this is set up, you're hitting people up, you're talking during COVID, everyone's freaking out, and you guys are seizing an opportunity to, at the least, be a better version than you were before. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, dude, that doesn't happen. Like, people are just like, hey, if it's out here, we better not do anything. And I'm like, well, when you guys aren't doing anything, I'm gonna hit it fucking going.
Hard. Yeah. If y'all are gonna pause, I'm gonna hit fucking fast forward, and we're gonna punch this bitch through the fucking stratosphere.
Booyah! That's just how I was wired since I was small, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
shit. That's how I even got to play college ball. I am not an impressive specimen of a human to look at, but just literally hard work. And being like, listen, I'm going to outwork you. I might not be more skilled than you, but I promise you I'll beat you in work. And whether it's weight room, whether we're running sprints, who's going to eat cereal faster, like,
oh yeah,
fucking whatever it is. And that directly comes into the content creation space. Like you said, consistency is the most important thing. Even if you get 3 views on a video, make another one. Maybe the next time you'll get 4. Yeah. Maybe you'll get 10. Maybe you'll get 20. Like, and we saw that in Rooted. Like, we put a video out, it got a couple views. We put another video out, got a couple more views. Then we put another video out. Shit, Josh put out a TikTok, and that TikTok probably has more views than all of our videos put combined. And it was just a simple. It was when Conor McGregor got knocked out by Poirier, and
perfect.
And it ended up getting like, I think it's up to something like 300,000 or 500,000 views, and it's just a TikTok. I don't even think either of us are on it. Like, it's just funny. Like, I was like, that's so weird, but we put it on our channel. And then by the end of it, we were getting, couple hundred views. And I was like, dude, I remember when we started at like 5 views.
Yeah. Like, it's just the small shit that adds up. And so this is perfect. Like, there's times where the rain died down.
Oh yeah. So I heard it.
I could hear my voice.
Bring the sun out, baby.
Yeah. Sun out. But it's like, just, you don't see it right away. Like, it just happens. What was it? If you do something now, you won't see that payoff. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you do a technique today, but then maybe 90 days from now, you see an opening and you remember it. And you were like, oh shit, that paid off 90 days later. He goes, but then guess what? You probably learned something the day after that day. So then tomorrow, that thing might come in handy.
Exactly.
You just never know.
They really call it planting seeds for a reason. And if you don't look at everybody, especially in today's day and age, everybody wants to be an overnight success. Everybody wants to be popular right away. And they want to be popular for the wrong reasons. They want to be popular because they want to be popular. It's not because they want to bring content to whoever's watching it and hope that they view it. But that's not everybody, obviously. There's people that do it.
It's a majority
so
of the
good.
people.
Like, just people like you, Chase. People who put something out and you're like, dude, I just want to bring the viewers something that they're gonna enjoy. It's not so much like, hey, I really hope that I get all the comments talking about how cool I am afterwards. It's like,
that's my biggest. To be honest,
I hate that shit.
It's the worst. Because it's what you just said. It's for the wrong reason. It means you're insecure about something and you gotta fucking take care of it.
Exactly. You think you found a hole that you can fill with others' gratification or others. What's the fucking word?
Like acceptance.
Yeah,
like
acceptance.
You're looking for
you
something.
want other people's opinion, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about other people's opinion, dude. I gave a fuck about what the fighters wanted to say, and if people wanted to listen to them, and clearly they did.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I asked, like, so after my sister was here, she was like, what happens if like this was big? And I'm like, I swear to God, I hope it doesn't. Like, not in a bad way, but
no,
it's like,
but like it's almost scary because you're like, I hope it doesn't change
Yeah, because
who I am or how I go about the process.
dude, we connect so well right now. I'm telling you right now. There's episodes. There are episodes.
Laser beams.
Tractor beams. Suck me right in. Like the opportunity to be here with you is one where I would never have otherwise. You know, and it's not that I wouldn't have seen you and been like, hey, what's up? Oh, Josh, nice to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. I fight over at Marathon. Like, there's a connection there. But like, when I went to Marathon, it was because I was like, I need to learn how to fight myself. Because on the other side of the incubator, it was like these people are like very threatening to me. So I'm not going to be insecure and scared about handling myself. And that went from like the very basic. And then I was like, ooh, I'm getting really good. And then I was like, I say really good, but it was like 3 months in, like better than not knowing anything. Where you were. Yeah. And I was like, Trey, like I'm gonna fight. And then he gave me this like guideline. He's like, all right, track your food, track this, track that, boom, 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 boom. Be here this amount. Like he had the whole thing ready to go. And the difference between like me and like a buddy who also was there, it was like I locked eyes. I go, you got it. Like there's nothing in front of me that I can't do. Like, and so,
did you play sport? Were you an athlete in high school or growing up at all? Were you a sport guy?
Look at me. Of course I was. Look at my wall. Look at my wall. See that? That's perfect connection right there. He said, "Look at my wall." As I said, "Look, baby." This is like Ghost Adventures when they're like, "Did you hear that, Aaron?" Yes, I did hear that.
Did you see that orb? Oh, dude, it got so cold all of a sudden.
Totally saw it. I saw exactly what you told me to say on camera right now. And sorry, not the TV's crap, but yeah, like I played basketball. I went to state for cross country.
Oh, nice.
So like, but it wasn't that I was anything special. It's literally just the attitude you're talking about. It's like, okay, great, here it is. I'm gonna accomplish whatever that is.
Yeah.
And you were like, you don't let big or small get in the way. And with having a kid so young, there's been plenty of big. Like,
of course,
but
I can imagine.
And then when we got here, this was so. Let me offer something to you because thank you so much for bringing all this stuff.
Oh, dude, no problem.
Making it.
Thank you. You're the one who granted the space. I was just like, dude, I better bring presents. Come bearing gifts. You know what I mean?
We got a fridge over there. But it was me and then 2 other people who I thought had the same idea of what they were gonna do, and it was like I had this in mind. I had multiple ones that we were going to build and then grow that and then use the small numbers to like really push into Kansas City because of the things coming. You have the Casey Current Stadium. You've got all these big things.
The new Royal Stadium downtown.
Downtown Royals.
The freaking loop-de-loop they're building on the highway.
NFL draft in like 2 weeks.
NFL draft's coming. The World Cup's coming 26. Dude, Kansas City's blowing the fuck up, man.
And I was like, we would be stupid not to seize this. But before that, it's the 90-day payoff deal. I had fucked up 3 other podcasts by like choosing the wrong person, or maybe I didn't edit that correctly. So I would learn and little increments of things for that software to be able to make something that I can be proud of, but also still want to work on. Like there's still something. It's like, that lighting could be, maybe if I get another one, you know, there's always something. And when you find something like that, just the way the fighters find fighting, like training, that same idea, when you get a room full of people like that, it's so hard not to like feel so comfortable and be there. Cause everywhere outside that doesn't exist. They're like, oh my gosh, my car is terrible. I need a Tesla. And I can't afford it. Unlike Jeff Molina. And then they buy it and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't eat, but I'm gonna
try. I got a cool car though, cool so everybody can see how cool I am, but I can't fucking put food on my table.
I never got that attitude.
It's just a weird, and I think everybody has self-doubt to some extent.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why athletics is such a character and confidence builder, because it presents you with challenges that you have to knock down every single day.
Yeah, no one's going to do it for you either.
No, because if you don't do it, you're probably going to get put on your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or somebody's going to drop 20 in your face. You're going to get put on your ass in football. You know, you're going to get knocked out in the octagon. Like, whatever it is, if you don't step up to the table and hold personal accountability and responsibility, and this is why fighting amongst all things, because I think fighting really is the pinnacle of ultimate, what Josh always says, the ultimate test of skill and will.
Yes.
The ultimate test of skill and will. Shout out to you, buyers. He always would say it's the ultimate test of skill and will. How skillful can you get, but how much willpower do you have to get there and then survive once you've done it?
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I remember walking in, and I talked to a bunch of people who were there who like saw me come in. I'm like, dude, I was not in a good spot. I won it for the wrong reasons. Those guys don't have that. They're like, yes, I do want this, but like Nick Meck, who was in here, like, if you don't know Nick, you're like, oh, dude, like in shape, perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you're like,
absolute specimen.
He's probably an ass, and he just doesn't talk a lot.
Yeah,
right.
He's kind of quiet.
But if you're his partner in class, he's like, yeah, man. You see, and he's like leaning over talking. I'm like, what? And then next thing you know, it's like you're a third grade again. Trey's like, hey, you guys got something going on? I'm like, it was him. I'm like, it's him. And I'm like, I know you got a personality, man. Like, come in here and like be like, show people that you're not this, Greek god asshole, and it was just like, it's so awesome that an insecurity of me like not wanting to get beat up and being small and like doing this. And I'm like, dude, it changed my whole life. Like, it gave me the strength to even think about doing this. And it became kind of annoying to go into like work or go into not my current work, but like my old job, and everyone's hates their life.
Dude, I see it so often.
They hate it.
Luckily, and just like you said, luckily, so I just got an adult job.
Oh, nice.
I got an adult job.
Adult job
for the first time ever, and I love it. Luckily, the people that I work with are awesome. I shout out to everybody at Fern. But I've been in so many workplaces where people I worked with this guy at the liquor store for a long time, and he was the most negative, like life-hating, not even self-deprecating, but he just harbored hate everywhere he went, man. And I'm like, dude, and this is the first time you and me have actually met. We've talked on the phone, we've texted. This is the first time you and me have met.
But it was still today, like an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I never met you before an hour ago on the phone.
Yes, exactly. and I am not a person, like, I wake up with fucking sunshine and rainbows shooting out my asshole when I hop out the bed. And sometimes it annoys people. Like, I'm not a guy who needs to come into work and be like, don't talk to me till I had my coffee, man. I'm like, dude, I woke up, and it was funny in college. I was energized. When I wake up, I'm happy to be there. Like,
I'm right there with you.
And my teammates were like, bro, do you smoke crack? They're like, it's 4:30 in the morning for weights. How do you have this much energy? And I'm like, because I woke up today. I'm happy to be here. Like, I've never been a negative person. Yeah, everybody's got self-doubts. Everybody's dealing with their shit, anxieties, whatever it is. But like, outside of that, I'm just happy to be here, man. I'm happy to meet people and make good connections.
It's insane, the attitude shift that happened. But yeah, that's what annoyed me the most, was that stupid attitude of hate.
I hate it. I don't mesh well with those people, and usually I kind of like rib them, and
I make it way worse for them. I'm like,
yo, I'm gonna make you be happy, whatever it is. And I've successfully transitioned people. Some people just never worked, and I don't, those people just aren't. They probably still living in the dump somewhere.
Yeah, they really don't like to be alive. But it's also the same thing. You wake up and you go, hey, another day. Like, I remember, it's so cliche because, it's Gary Vee, but he's like, your chances of being here is 1 in 400 trillion. So that's pretty significant.
It's pretty cool.
And I was like, well, now I can't take this lightly.
Right.
I can't just be like, I'm alive today. It was like, oh shit, like that. It gave a sense of hope and atmosphere of like, there's something I'm going to find, but I have to be out there to go check.
And that's not, I don't want to sit here, and I know you're not either, like downplaying people's real life fucking problems. Like, everybody's got problems, dude. Right. Everybody has, what's the Mac Miller line? Everybody's got dead homies.
Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be something. Nobody scathes through life nobody gets through life unscathed. But if you can find the one thing that does give, and that's what this shit does for me. Like, I love doing this stuff. Whether it's just having a conversation, whether I'm prepping for a post-fight show, whether I'm prepping for an interview. And then when I'm done, the feel like, dude, when me and Josh would get done interviewing these fighters, me, Josh, and Micah, when they would leave the building, bro, we would instantly turn around and high-fiving each other, being like, dude, I got so much adrenaline right now. Like, I'm so happy. Like, that went so well. And that little 15 minutes, an hour, a day, however long that excitement lasts, it makes me want to go to the next one.
Yeah.
It gives me all the hope to be like, whatever, I'm going to grind fucking to the next time I can feel that again. Cause that was awesome.
It's the best. Yeah.
Which is, I assume, how fighters feel when they're done fighting. Yeah. They just got their ass kicked. They've just been in a war. They've been, battling. And if you get the win, man, I can't imagine being in the octagon in the middle of the UFC, Bellator one, wherever it's at, in the middle, in front of 50,000, 30,000, 80,000 people.
The T-Mobile Arena right now.
Exactly. T-Mobile Arena. Tonight, we got UFC Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen tonight, which will be awesome here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But just to be able to put your hands up and like feel that energy, I could, bro, I could only imagine.
If the imagination part does that for you, like I was like this, like my muscles were tense. I was like, that did it for you. Like,
yeah, dude, I get happy for these guys, dude. These fighters that I've interviewed, whether it's Molina, whether it's Schnieders, whether it's Carl Robertson, whether, any of these guys, Trey Ogden, he just fought last weekend.
Yep.
And it was just, some days guys got it, some days don't, but whatever it is, whatever that thing is, it keeps those guys going. And I get excited for these guys, the Josh Frims coming out and getting dubs. Like, just I get excited watching these guys only because I've had a slight interaction with them enough to be like, dude, I care about your success. I hope you do fucking well.
Right. Well, and another thing, there's two things. We'll get back to Jeff Molina, because we'll just do it right now. While I have it in my brain. But so the Tesla pulls up.
Yeah.
And I've seen him only on TV, murdering people, and I swear to goodness, this is the tone, this is the sound, this is everything that happened. I was like, Jeff Molina. I was like, dude, I watched your fight. He goes, thanks, man.
Yeah. So
like,
down to earth, bro.
I'm through the roof, like yelling, like, Jeff Molina, it's you. And he's like, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you watching.
Dude, he's a cool cat, man. I'll tell you what, he's one of my favorite like personalities.
And he's like an awesome dude. Like, just so, and in class, he was like, all right, this is the technique that we're going to use. I got away with this on my last fight, And I'm like, these guys take this shit super serious. This is everything. And I'm like, what if I did that and just dove in and we're here? So, because it was me and two other guys who had different departments. They were like, we were going to have a Jamie, right? A guy who had all this, was going to do all this. So I could just focus if I had to do that or this. Split everything up amongst three, make it, easy on finances and time and distance and all that kind of stuff. And the little things, they just couldn't handle any type of stress. But I had no idea until that moment. It's like, oh yeah, I have to do this and do that. And I'm like, great, I'll be right there with you. Like, I'm right here with you. Whatever you need, let's sit down, talk, and just they're gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, now I have this place rented and I have to do something with it. And I was like, nothing's going to stop me. So that attitude was everything for this.
And it's hard when you want to go into something that you're passionate about, gauging somebody else's passion and work ethic. Because anybody can be passionate about anything.
Yes.
A lot of people can bullshit about a lot of things and act like they're passionate
all the time.
And it's hard. That's why it was so magical when Josh and I and Micah did Rooted, because and I'll tell you this right now. I was living by the seat of my pants a lot. This was probably a little over a year ago that we actually kind of stopped doing some of that stuff. And I just wasn't in a great spot in life.
Yeah.
But I still had a lot of passion for it. And now kind of stepping away from it and analyzing some of my issues that maybe, whether those guys didn't like it, whether, whatever it was, it's made me go, listen, if I'm going to do this, I got to buckle down. I got to be more professional in certain aspects, whether it's just like being more organized. You know what I mean? Like organization for somebody with fucking ADD.
I'm right there with you.
Hey, there you go. Hey, high five. Bam.
Okay, that makes so much sense. I didn't have to cut you off.
No, you're good.
What I just did there, not mean to cut you off, is because that thought's going to go bye-bye.
That's what happens. Literally happens all the time. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
But so it's made me kind of reevaluate what we were doing then, why it worked so well, and maybe what some of the, I don't even want to say downfalls. It just all three of us had in 1 week, I swear to God, in 1 week, all three of us had like life-changing shit. So
yeah,
I got a new job schedule which I was working 7 days a week from like 9 a.m. to about 11 o'clock at night.
When I saw you come in, I'm like, this dude has the work ethic, the thing. Like you, Josh,
I appreciate that,
I'm
brother.
like, you can feel it, you know?
No, and Josh has that too. He's very meticulous in what he likes to do. And the good thing is we're very yin and yang, but in a great way. Like we're literally the yin and yang symbol when it comes to.
It makes a whole piece.
He's a little bit more mellow, but he's dude, his knowledge in his willingness to study, and then mine where just not to toot my own horn, but like creating great conversation, coming at it from ways people might not be thinking about how to conduct an interview or where to take it. And then, both of us are extremely creative. And again, he's way more, I think he's a lot more meticulous and planned. And I wasn't as organized. I just, again, flying by the seat of my pants, wasn't in a good spot. And being able to step away from that. And now Josh and I have reconnected. Not that anything ever happened.
Yeah, you guys have a great, like the way you talk. I'm like, nothing bad happened.
Nothing bad happened. It was just, I was going through shit in my life. In 1 week, I got a new job, working 7 days a week. Micah got a new gig, full-time job at Platinum XP. And then Josh tore his ACL and got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So like all three of us literally in 1 week had like kind of life-shifting shit happen.
Oh yeah, it goes three different directions.
Yeah, that's why we kind of shit just got put on pause. You know what I mean? But I was just talking to Josh last night. We were kicking, chatting it up and whatnot, and talking about wanting to hang. And so literally nothing bad happened. It was just shit. Life comes at you, man. Like, life comes at you like a fucking smack in the face. Yeah. So, but I think it gives me so much more of a respect for those guys now, looking back on it and being like, hey, now where I'm at with, doing stuff with Fight Bananas and just being more organized. And I really think it has, in a weird way, helped my growth in whatever this is, this game that we do.
You just have to, I fully believe that it's like, so there's a quote that I have on like my agenda scheduler.
Yeah.
Because just like you, that's what, one of those failed ones was like, this isn't coming together because I'm not meshing it. In my head, I am. But in paper and with the people I need and the individuals that I have to gather and contact and do this, it's like to a T time frame, 30 minutes, this, that. And that's just how I work. I didn't before. Yeah. That whiteboard that's behind my desk, I call that. Yeah. I call that my brain. Because before, like, so my ADHD meds, like, silence all that stuff and I can focus, but it's hard to describe. I can, like, pick it. So, like, you probably relate to this when you're driving, and then it's like 10 minutes later, you go, oh shit, I'm driving.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah.
I was off in La La Land over here. Forgot I was actually operating a vehicle.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm alive. And and you look back, you go, what did I do for the last 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And you can't remember it. And I'm like, so that was like all the time.
So I just got one of these, by the way.
Oh, it's a good idea.
And it's, again, with the ADD thing, if you don't write it down, I swear the way I kind of describe like having ADD is just like, so you know how you keep saying that you keep cutting me off, you're not, you're fine. But also like when ADD people talk to people, the reason that they're interjecting or like so anxious, like ready to answer or like input is because they've already run the rest of the conversation ahead of time.
Yep.
They've already sped through probably how this conversation's going. And you almost want to fast forward.
I was about to fast forward. I was about to yell like, someone gets me. Like I was like, dude, you're speaking my language.
You've already thought through the end of this conversation and you're almost like, you just know what they're going to say. So you want to say it, but you're like, you got to slow down, let them fucking talk. And that's what interviewing, like when you interview these fighters, that is one of the things that I've learned from that is, dude, shut the fuck up, ask your question, plan your next one, but listen to what they're saying. Yeah. Cause if they say, cause I usually do it where when I am going to interview somebody, I have like 4 or 5 topics, but they're not strict because half the time they're going to say something that I want to jump off onto because my brain caught on to something that they said that interests me now over the topic I had planned.
That's the skill.
It's so like then I want to go, hey, you know what? Dive deeper into that. Like, don't just go like, hey, how was the fight? Yeah, I had a couple problems here. Fight week didn't go well. And be like, cool. Well, what do you think your next thing is? Instead of be like, no. Ask them what the issues were. Like, ask them what,
They're telling you.
how could you have done it? They're talking to you. Listen to what the fuck they're saying.
Yeah.
And then they're going to give you an even better question than you probably already had planned.
Yeah, for real. And that's why those interviews bug me so much.
I also talk with my hands a lot, if you can't tell.
Oh, no. Well, that's why I can't stand those UFC interviews, because not only is it the same questions, but it's like they ignore the answer and they have to get through the questions that they gave them in like 15 minutes or something ridiculous.
I see it a ton in other sports too.
For real?
Football interviews are the worst.
I do love that Key and Peele skit though.
Which one? The East vs. West or what?
That's a good one. Yeah, but the one where he like scores the touchdown, he goes, "Give me the play-by-play." Yeah, we just come out here, we work hard, and I just had this and that, and he's like, "Great," and he asks another question, but the guy's not paying attention, and he's like, "I have to get through these questions. You got to answer the first one, so I get to the next one." Yeah, and I'm like,
it's like they're there to just ask their question. They're not listening to the whoever they're in, the athlete, and
right.
I think that's why athletes get so annoyed with media. Because I'm sitting at home listening to the media going, "You're fucking stupid, bro. Why did you not? Dude, he just gave you gold and you just passed on that. Like, why didn't you follow up on this question? Like, he just gave you a great segue to something." It makes me so mad. Like, I hate listening to interviewers half the time. And these are guys on ESPN. These guys are getting paid. These are guys and girls that are getting paid fucking, I don't know how much money. Way more than I'm getting paid, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. I don't
get paid. That's funny. I don't get paid. I just do it for the love of the game, baby.
Have you? I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm just so excited to be here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. But before I forget this thought, because I've held on to it for a long time, my white knuckling this thing. Whatever you guys, if you want somewhere for Rooted or any of your stuff, just let me know, man. Like the big key with this room was like when I mentioned Kansas City, it was like, to be honest, I don't give a fuck about any kind of cash, any kind of like nice things that will eventually like, die, like a car will explode, like shit that can go away.
Your car doesn't explode.
Well, like, if you buy, it's like the people who buy the Bugattis and they're like, "Oh I can afford the Bugatti." They're like, "What about the maintenance?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Maintenance?" And they were like, "Yeah, this is
the thing to keep your car." So I just went through this. So it's funny.
A Bugatti?
No.
Oh, someone's getting
shit. I wish
someone's getting paid.
I told you I don't get paid. No, I feel like so when you had Josh on, first thing he answered is his car got stolen. You told me about a car crash. I totaled my car the day before Christmas this year.
Oh, dude.
Fucking on the highway out here, just bullshit. It was the day where it was -5 degrees outside.
Oh yeah.
On the highway, yeah, pretty shitty. But
was there another car involved or just you?
No, it was another car. It was a really shitty on ramp that has a really small merge section, and so I'm driving, and all of a sudden, this is my fault. I didn't really realize that this mesh was so small.
Yeah.
So I was probably, let's be honest, I was probably looking at my phone. I don't know. I was probably doing something. I don't even really remember what happened. All of a sudden I look up and the car in front of me has hit their brakes. So I hit my brakes and my car just right. And I tried to swerve into the back and there's snow and ice everywhere. And it just wasn't good. So, but what I was getting at was going through the process of buying a car. What I wanted was, I just want something reliable that's going to have low maintenance and high gas mileage. That's what I wanted.
Simple.
I didn't care because I was like, I don't want to just buy something nice and then have, like, if I bought a Cadillacs have notorious issues and shit like that. So I didn't want to buy a car that I was going to have to put way more money into down the road. I wanted something reliable. I ended up getting a Ford Escape, which from what I love it so far.
Oh yeah.
Some people think it could be like a freaking soccer mom looking car. I don't care. It's a reliable car and I love it. It's reliable. So, but I had to go through that where you're like thinking down the road, not just like, let me buy something flashy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I have a 9-year-old. And he the same thing. I remember he was in his carrier, like he was small. So he was still facing the reverse direction. So, I mean, I had under 2 years old. And my kid's got a memory. Like, Madden, this is for you, dude. Because he's gonna be like old, like 18 old, and be like, "Oh, Dad, like that video's on the internet."
Dude, isn't that like, weird though?
I mean, kinda, but like I'm having fun in them right now.
Not in a bad way, but isn't it weird that like now with the internet and everything? And sorry, I didn't mean to derail your.
Oh, you're good. I was literally done.
isn't it weird to like think like I have things out there that people, as long as the internet exists, people will be able to find them
Yeah, it's
and like
there.
see this.
Mm-hmm.
Like my parents don't have like video, like they probably got like home videos and stuff, but like not things that can be publicly looked up
Yeah.
and seen for future generations. Like my grandkids would be able to go back on YouTube if it still exists at that point
It's
and
just
be like, dude, I found my grandpa talking
Yeah.
online about some fighters or something.
Man,
That's
he was
weird.
young back
Yeah,
then.
fucking ugly ass motherfucker. No.
He's talking with this other ginger bearded guy.
Yeah,
on
these
a
two
show.
gingers don't make it right. That's for sure.
They're on a weird nerd set. I don't know what this is. But like I was looking at the Mustang, like just because I was, wanting to have one. I don't know. I was like 18, 19. And I put him in there and we went fucking fast because the lady who was selling the car was like,
Punch it.
for real.
Yeah.
That,
Open up a little bit.
we're on the same wave, man. And that's what she said. So I opened it up, and when my kiddo was like 4 years old, 5, he goes, "Where's that fast car?" And I go, "What?" And he's like, "The red one." I go, "The Mustang when you were like in a baby carrier?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have memories.
How do you remember that?
You shouldn't have memories yet, dude." And he's spot on. But yeah, he's just always known like that's the attitude. Because I didn't know where or how or whatever. But if you don't have any kind of, I'm generalizing, but also this applies to the board. But if you buy a flashy car that you can afford, but it's also going to stretch the budget or do whatever, and it is flashy, it's because there's that insecurity part we talked about.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. But if you have a strong, confident attitude and you, just like you, like love to be alive every day, who gives a fuck about the car?
Yeah.
Like, it's literally things from the earth, like metal and shit that put together that we made to make this thing go vroom. It's like, if you realize how immaterial like stuff is, I never forget this podcast, like this memory. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
That's more important than, the money elsewhere, which also helped the studio because I was like, okay, so now it's me paying for it.
Yeah. And it feels
gonna do
good
it.
being able to do your own shit, doesn't it?
Fuck yes, dude. So much.
That's why I was so happy when I got my first big boy job. I was like, dude, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I just turned 28 back in December. I was living
What?
paycheck to paycheck until I was 28.
You're 28 right now?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
How old do you think I was?
Like 23.
No. I just got a young face.
Yeah. Right here with you.
Hey, they say black don't crack, but neither do gingers. Watch out.
Yeah, well, I have the beard because of the double chin and the baby face. But don't be fooled. It's not for toughness.
Oh, if I shave, watch out. I look like a child.
Yeah, imagine me. I'm just shaved. I shaved it one time when I was 19. I had my kiddo, and I'm like, "Come on!" And they're like, "Oh, look at the brothers."
Look at the brothers. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm the dad actually. So,
This one's mine.
but I just think if you have a very like, if you take the time to get to know you, like, and that means all of you, like the good, the bad, all that stuff, and learn to mesh that into someone you want to become, and funnel that into a goal or something that you really find that you can like improve slightly every day. So like maybe it's, oh, I improved this much today, but then tomorrow you're like, I did this much, and you're like, great. If you stack that, you have miles of improvement that you've made, and that's only because you know that you enjoy it so much that you want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so,
Like I said, it's that small feeling, that 15, 20 an hour a day, like however long that feeling lasted, if it tickled your pickle as much as you wanted it to, and you're like, fuck, dude, that felt so good. Like I said, like after we'd get done with interviews or after I get done with, so like when I do, only because I haven't elaborated for them, I work for I work with a company called Fight Bananas on
oh shit, yeah,
YouTube.
I forgot.
No, you're good.
I was like,
And,
that's my notes.
The reason I even got onto that is again because of Josh.
Mhm.
Like Josh Byers has been instrumental in like helping me do a lot of things, and he got me and him started doing the post-fight show for this website on Facebook and YouTube called Fight Bananas.
Mhm.
And shout out to Dave Van Auken, and shout out to my co-host now, John Ramlakan, who is fantastic. Like Josh and I started doing the post-fight shows. And then obviously everything kind of went down the way it did and just stopped doing the rooted stuff as much. And so I stopped doing any fight stuff. I was just I was a spectator, loved it, watched it, still talked to the fighters. And then I at the end of this past year, back in I think November, I just got this itch like, man, I want to get back into this full-fledged after kind of analyzing everything that I'd already done,
Mm-hmm.
how I went about doing it. So I reached back out to Dave and was like, hey man, I'm back on board. What do you want me to do? And ever since November, we've been doing a show every week after
Dope.
every fight. And I got a good partner in John Ramacon right now. Josh was supposed to be on the last show. He ended up getting busy. No worries.
Yep.
But hopefully we can bring him back on and create, like, I love doing this shit, man. And
Yeah.
Fight Bananas is a great website. If you guys are fight fans, go check out Fight Bananas.
For
Dave
sure.
Van Auken, Jillian.
You said it earlier, dude.
I did.
Is it Murphy?
No, it's not Jillian Murphy. Jillian Robertson. Is that? I feel so bad right now because I've got to look this up because I'm gonna butcher her name and then I'm gonna feel really bad about it. Yeah, Jillian Robertson. She's a big contributor on Fight Bananas as well. Also fighting tonight on the Max Holloway card. So
Dude,
here in
yes.
Kansas City. So that's awesome as well.
Mm-hmm.
And last week I actually got to go down. So they're based out of Orlando.
Okay.
And for my work, I got to go on a work trip to Orlando. So I was like, it's my first work trip. I was like, this is literally the stars are aligning.
God bless the internet.
I got to go meet up with John and we did a live show afterwards together.
Oh,
For the
dude.
first time ever. We had talked multiple times, never met the guy in person, just like we are doing today.
Mhm.
And we fucking kicked it off. It was awesome, dude. We had a blast, did the show
So
live
dope.
in my hotel room. And it wasn't quite as cool of a setup as this, obviously, but it was just cool, man. Like you get to meet people, make connections, do things that once you set your mind to it, like it's crazy and it's not going to happen overnight, but it's cool to see how this shit has evolved. The
Yeah.
more you just keep doing it, put one foot in front of the other. And
You never
dude,
know.
I never thought I'd be here right now. I never thought anybody would give a fuck about my opinion about anything. And they probably still don't, but at least it's cool that some people do.
Dude, you're being humble, okay?
Nah, I'm
I've
just
ta-
being real, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate it, but I'm just being
quiet down. Quiet down.
All right, I'll shut up.
I'm not this rude. But but I am, because like I love that even in this general like fight community in the Kansas City area, everyone is as humble as you are. They say the same thing. I could be better at this, and I'm like, dude, you're like Mason, right? I'm like, you're an 8-0 double champ amateur, right? Fighting on the 22nd. I'll be there, bro. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's the same idea. He goes, oh, I just did it to like stay out of trouble.
That's a lot of them too.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's my favorite was Leon Edwards. He's like talking about his childhood, and he's like, I was in the gym, like put in the gym because I was getting in too much trouble. Yeah. And that trouble caused gang attention to be like, hey, dude. And he's like, my mom, who was like, she was working 3 jobs or some shit, so she was never around, like said, hey, here's the gym. Like, you watch him and you just let him get whatever this is out here. That's literally how he fought. And he's like, oh, I'm more attracted and I don't have to do that because I have this in front of me and I'm loving it, right? And so Mason would said the same thing. He's like, I'm just trying to get better every day, dude. That's simply it. He's like, he told me straight up, it's somewhere in like the middle of the episode we did. And again, I'm like this right now. I'm more proud of this now because of the small perfections. Like I had the lights on. Like I didn't know how to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like on the fly, I've been learning as we go through the episode by picking it apart. And so I'll have to do them justice and bring Luna and Mason back in here. But he said he would get the UFC belt, melt it, which is like real shit. He said he'd melt it into a sword, samurai sword, give it to Trey to hang on the wall.
Yo, that's fucking killer.
And I was like, Mason, are you in drugs? Like right now, you in drugs? He's like, no, I'm serious, man. And I'm like, okay. And it was hanging on the wall over there. But he had both belts. But he was like, here, keep this belt. I just want it for the picture. And he goes, no, you keep it in here. I go, what? And he's like, yeah, keep it, like put it on the wall or something. I'm like, you don't want it? He goes, nah, I think it makes me more complacent. Like it makes me settle for looking at this every day. And I'm like, Mason, that is the healthiest thing I've ever heard someone say in the weirdest like turnaround. And like that is just, it's addicting.
Mason, I don't know if you
be.
know how mentally stable that actually makes you.
That's the word. That's the word. There we go. It's just, I never thought that that's what I would be at with these guys just by walking in and not wanting to get beat up. I want to give back. And so if it doesn't matter if I didn't have the studio, right? For example, if I saved enough to not pay for the studio, but like put it in my bank account, people, dude, I cannot tell you the looks I get where they're like, why would you have that in your bank account? And I'm like, what would it do?
So I don't trust the banks, but that's a whole different topic.
It would do nothing for me. It would do nothing for anybody if it just sat there and did nothing. And I'm like, great, I feel a little bit better, but also like I'm wasting my life and potential. I'm like, why would I do that when just take a risk? Do something that terrifies you. And back to the Ledger book, I'm so glad we both have ADD, ADHD, because we can circle it back. But it says everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
So like if fear's the wall, like I got to get over that wall. What,
Yeah.
Why does it scare me? And then break it down. And then next thing you know, it's like, okay, I'm over here. I did want to be able to do that or do this or ask that person. I don't know if they will. Okay. It's just like something simple that I do every day that I'm like, I see it. I go, fuck yeah. And like wake up with the joy of life like you do. So,
Dude, and it really goes a long way. And I know we've been on this topic for a while, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit. How did you get interested in just the fight game in general? Do you remember like the first time you ever saw like whether it was a low level, whether it was UFC? What was like your intro memory to the fight game?
Good Lord. It was probably, let's see, it came out, it was 2010 probably. Because, let's see, how old was I? Yeah, it maybe a little earlier than that, like 2008, 2010. But it was like, I remember Brock Lesnar being a huge thing. And my uncle was like full on UFC. Uncle Matt, shout out to you. And he had a giant like 90-inch television with the video game UFC Undisputed. And we played that shit all day long. And he was in Texas. We went down for like a visit. And the only thing I remember about that visit was we played that game up until like 2 a.m. every night. And I was like, who are these guys? I started looking it up. But then I realized like Brock Lesnar, like, please don't find me and come kill me. But he's not that impressive, like compared to now. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Compared to how the game's evolved and everything. But that's cool that the first
but that's my first like
memory
intro.
was. So it's funny that you bring up the video game aspect because so when I got introduced to it, my buddy Nick Hammer had he had a DVD and we were in his basement. He had a DVD, if kids still know what those are.
What's that? No.
Yeah, yeah, you would be in that realm, wouldn't you?
What is that? How dare you?
Sorry.
Hey, how dare you? Okay, it was only 2 years apart. Okay,
being an ageist or something. No, so he had a DVD of like UFC's greatest knockouts in his basement. So we would put that shit on, and I remember it had Tank Abbott on it. There was Randy Couture on it, and there was Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell became instantly my favorite. This was probably back in like 2005.
Yeah,
something like that. We were probably 5th grade, and
I was in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, you youngin. So we put this on and I just was like, yo, these dudes are knocking each other out and you could knee somebody in the face, like that's legal because like before that I really only ever like seen like boxing and stuff. So I was like, this is awesome. This is like real life gladiators. Then I never really watched it outside of that. I liked the knockout highlights and stuff like that. Then I got the video game UFC 3, I believe. Either UFC 2 or UFC. It might have been UFC 2. Can't remember.
Like with the new ones, like on.
Yeah, this was like when I was in college. In 2014, 2015, I got UFC 3. It might have been UFC 3. I fucking can't. It was the one. It was UFC 2. That's what it was. It was UFC 2.
Conor McGregor's on it?
No. It was one right before that.
Oh, got you. Yep.
And so I was like, this is cool. So I started playing it. I got fucking addicted to it. I started learning more about each individual fighter, learning about styles, learning about game plans. And then all of a sudden I was like, dude, I'm going to start watching these fights. And this was before I really knew what websites you could like illegally stream shit on. Cause I didn't have enough money in college to just keep buying pay-per-views.
You're in college.
Yeah. So, and
I was
playing ball, so I couldn't work. Like I was playing ball, so I couldn't have a job. And so I got like addicted to fighting, and it kind of stirred up all these old memories that I had from the old guys, the Anderson Silvas, the St. Pierre's, the Chuck Liddells, the Lesners, the Coutures, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I just became like fully in, like, dude, I love this shit.
Yeah.
And I remember the first one we went to go watch was Daniel Cormier versus John Jones at
Ooh.
Hooters. We went to go watch it at Hooters down in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Now that's one.
Yeah, and it was a great one to watch. And like after that, I was hooked. I was just full in, wanting to learn these guys, wanting to watch the fights, and I've watched more fights.
I'm not gonna. I just got like chills up my leg and my arms while like remembering that fight. I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the one where he head kicked him, and then Joe Rogan tried to interview him when he was like clearly concussed.
Oh yeah, you were like, hey, what's going on? It's like, I hope mom.
Yeah,
like,
it was bad.
He's not making sense right now.
But no, it was my bad. Yeah, it was just full go from there. I mean, like just the same energy and passion that I had about the NFL. I was like, dude, this is the ultimate test of skill and will, baby.
Yeah,
It just something about the sport. And I know a lot of people that like think it's too brutal.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't watch it.
Now?
It's too brutal. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No way.
I swear to God, there's more fight fans now, but I still know people who have. I work at, so both the stations I worked at, 810 and 610. Guess who didn't? Nobody covered this sport.
Why?
Nobody did. They couldn't tell you anything about it.
Oh, because of the brutality of it?
No, well, maybe, but they just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you be a sports fan and not like one of the biggest rising sports of the coolest stuff? Like these guys are doing insane things, and some of them were like, yeah, it's too brutal for me, and nobody covers it.
Yeah.
And there's a weird podcast market in Kansas City because Kansas City fans love fighting, but the sports guys weren't covering it. And I'm like, you guys are missing a huge demographic that you think doesn't exist. And I can tell you firsthand, guys like you, guys like me, guys like you, guys like Josh, so many different guys.
There's a lot.
Shout out to my boy Lance.
Yeah.
Lance Twidwell from the Spoken podcast. He runs a Chiefs podcast here in Kansas City, the Spoken, but he'll cover MMA and he'll bring me on, and he wants to start a new podcast. We'll see how that goes. Like, he wants to get me on it and do a new thing because he wants to start talking about it a lot more because he loves the fights as well. We'll be texting throughout the fights.
Well, by golly.
But there's so many more people that love this sport than people realize. And it's either you know about it or you don't know anything about it.
Correct.
There's not a lot of like, there's the casuals who are like, yeah, I like Conor McGregor and I'll watch McGregor. Or I'll watch a John Jones fight. And even those guys couldn't tell you about the sport. So I don't really consider them like, but at least they'll watch. You know what I mean? But
for sure.
I got my mom into it. My fucking mom. Shout out to Sandy Schnieders. She'll sit down and watch these fights with me. And she likes the storyline. She likes, and my dad, on the other hand, he's like, it's a little gruesome for me. And I'm like, dude, come on. Are you kidding me? And my mom's sitting there like into the shit.
Well, I agree on one aspect of the gruesome. And that's only because I fully felt it and understand it. Is anytime there's someone who's refusing to tap, you know what I'm saying? Like refusing to tap to a like, oh my gosh, your shoulder is gonna pop at any minute. Your knee is gonna just rip every tendon, right? But you are just not gonna tap. That is the only time where. Oh, thank you, brother. That's good. The best thing about this, I edited it all. I knew that you were driving that Bugatti, so I had to steal a little cash in there, you know. I was like, they laughed so hard. I was like, about a Bugatti? You were like, no, not about a Bugatti. Got it. Thank you, man. Sorry. No, dude, that's the best. The best thing about owning something like this is like, there's nothing. Like if you got to pee or like someone's got to do this, I'm like, all right, go ahead. Like there's nothing. And there's, guess what? The best part? There's nobody over here. There's no one like, hey, you can't cover that. And you're like,
yeah, that's true.
You're like, why can't I cover that?
Not telling me what the fuck to do because I've always been like that.
Yeah, same.
I've never, never been somebody who liked. I was always had an issue with authority because I grew up a Y kid. Like literally, so I went to Catholic school.
Yep.
If you couldn't tell. And freaking like I was always like, okay, well, I've got some questions.
Yeah.
Why? Not just because you said it, but I want you to now explain to me why that's a thing or why that's a rule. Dude, seriously, that's how my mind like always has worked. I always wanted to delve into like, okay, but why? I need to know more. I need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like my hunger for knowledge and information.
Who's the lady with the? Who's that on the wall? Mary. It's like,
Well, yeah,
okay,
no,
why
but
was
even
she?
yeah, like diving into like the weird like, and I'm not knocking religion. It's just I had so many questions that people didn't seem to be able to answer, and I was like, and it carried over into everything else. Like it
Yeah,
carried over into life. It carried over into authority. It carried over into anything else. So like as always, I love being able to do this
yeah,
because nobody's sitting over here telling me what I can't fucking talk about, what I can't fucking say.
right.
And it's funny being on the radio because you have to self-censor yourself to an extent. You
Yeah,
know, like I can't obviously be cussing hardcore on the radio, or sometimes people get uneasy if I bring up certain topics. And I've gone into stories that might make other people uncomfortable, but I did it from a journalistic standpoint where I was like, listen, I'm going to give you the background info of it.
mm-hmm.
You might feel uncomfortable about this, but I'm telling you because it's a story.
Yeah,
Not every story, journalism is not always supposed to make you happy.
yeah.
It's supposed to give you information about a range of topics.
That's real journalism.
Yeah, that's what journalism's for. And so like, and I say journalism, like I'm not writing stories, but I'm giving you a story. I'm presenting a story.
Right. Same.
I've done the research for it. I've done all the background stuff.
It's more
I'm
entertaining.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just always hated like either people who try to tiptoe or eggshell, like, oh, I can't say that. Can't say that. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna say what the fuck I want, and I'm either gonna face the repercussions of it, or you're gonna sit there and be like, you know what? That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing. Not to knock any of the radios, but when you get into an entity that's bigger than just like something that you're doing, like this room, it's just us two.
Yeah.
Then you have people who are like, well, we put money into that.
And I
then
get
those
it.
people are like, we don't want you to do that. And then that trickles down. And then that's where it gets to you. It's not any of the in between. It's usually that.
Yeah, and I get it. I get the business side of it. I get that this is not my stuff. This is your stuff. You've hired me to speak, but again, I'm speaking on your platform. So, and I get that. Like
Yeah.
that's why I asked you when I came in here if there were rules or is there things that you know I should shy away from. And it's not out of, hey, fuck you, I'm gonna say it anyway. It's more of just a respect for your show, because this is not my show.
Right.
But because you've allowed us to be able to talk and say whatever you want, and I appreciate that so much more. That's why I started my own shit, is because I just say whatever the hell I want.
Well, it's not like you're doing it in an asshole type of way.
No, and I'm never doing it to be a dick. I'm always doing it because it's either intriguing to me, or I think it'll be intriguing to you, or I've got some shit I want to say, and I want to see if people either agree or disagree.
Yeah, and then
I don't care if you do one way or the other, because I'm still going to feel the way I feel about it. But it is interesting to get a gauge on where people are. You know what I mean?
there's a new thing happening in this century. It's called being authentic for once. You know, like if you can do that, which I mean, kudos to us, because that just seems kind of natural at this point. But like, I don't know how to be. Not that I don't like, because that's too simple. But like, I can't. If I'm not being authentic in questions or talking with a person,
yeah.
Why am I even doing it?
Why am I there?
Well, it doesn't make any sense. I'm not getting anything out of it, and you're not getting anything out of it. So why would I do it in the first place? And so as that gets bigger, that's great, because then as we continue to do that, that's where they're going to eventually draw to. Be like, well, that's different than the 5 questions they got asked on the Zoom call about fighting.
Exactly.
And then that's how that happens. And then you get people who talk about you years later still who are like, do you know Rooted? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like,
well, it kind of is funny, because so last week's press conferences for UFC 287 with Izzy and them.
Awesome, by the way.
The Schmo got up and asked a question about Jorge Masvidal having some interest in the WWE. Was it Jorge Masvidal in the WWE or something?
Was it the whole organization, UFC and WWE?
So they bought, so the UFC bought WWE, or at least became a major contributor.
I don't like
or
that.
investor. Yeah, we can go down that whole road too, because now that even opens it up more, especially on the whole controversy that just happened recently about, since we know that WWE, even though it's real, it's scripted.
Yeah, it is scripted.
So if there was any doubters in the outcomes of the UFC, and there's been last week's judging, in my opinion, on the Michelle Watterson fight and one of the other fights, the Cavillo fight, I believe, it was 2 ladies. I thought both ladies who won the fight who lost the fight got screwed royally.
Yeah.
And so then you purchase the WWE, and it almost bleeds more into, okay, well, if you're buying a promotion that's scripted, and we all know it is that going to give doubt to?
It's already giving doubt. I'm doubting it right now.
Yeah, like is that going to give doubt to how you guys are playing it out for money things instead of authentic? And I want to be optimistic.
Yeah.
I want to be optimistic about the outcomes, but there's been an issue with the judging in the UFC, and a lot of people have complained about it. I mean, hell, almost every major commentator, every major analyst has been like, yo, we've got to fix the judging in the UFC.
It's just going to be so tough to try and do that because it's state by state.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. But yeah, I'm already questioning that now. I thought, not to be a doubter, and I'm not talking about people who are coming up who literally work for the shit that I've seen, who are in the UFC now, in the Kansas City area. But like, you have to wonder if you got a number by you, what is going on in that contract deal? You were like, listen, if you do it on the 3rd, then we can say the next 2 fights, we'll give you this person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then you start to question, you're like, I'm already kind of wondering that, because what I've been seeing in the UFC, but now it's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking the integrity of the organization. I'm just saying this brings in what the UFC's value is. It's 12.6, 12.2 billion.
A couple of years ago, it was
6.
3.
Yeah.
It was when it got sold, right? It was $3 billion. I'm like, that's a short period of time.
Well, if you look, I think being able to bet on it, in a lot of more states now has upped the value because now they're raking in a lot more dough. People are being able to. The gambling aspect of it has really brought in more fans, I believe. And like I said, this sport is fuck pickleball. It's not the fastest growing sport in America. The fastest like fan development is the UFC, or just fighting in general.
Yeah.
Look at what the PFL is doing. The PFL is blowing up. Bellator is kind of in a stand, like they're not in a standstill, but they were the main rival to the UFC.
Yeah.
Then PFL came and hit the stage. And they're taking off, dude.
Yeah, it's murdering it. Well, and then so once I started doing this whole UFC dive, like into I'm not saying I'm any kind of investigational journalist person, but like if I take a fighter that I like who loses in a questionable decision and I go, are you fucking with me? And then I start digging because I care about it. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll be aware of the next fight. And then the next fight
things
is
to look for.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, I have a signal that people aren't looking for that are just the common spectator. And then it's like 2-3 fights down the line, I'm like, they probably could have said, hey man, like do this, and the next fight will get you double the money for the pay-per-view. Some shit like that.
I mean,
that's part of scripting.
It sucks because as somebody who works in sports radio, again, who covers the NFL, I've got questions about the NFL sometimes where I'm like, I understand you're an organization who is putting on an entertainment sport. It is for entertainment. It's competition. But there's a lot of things sometimes, and I hate to be that guy. Like there's fans that love it for the purity of the sport.
Yeah.
That's us. And what the whole point of having the purity of the sport is the fact that you want it to be real.
Yeah.
You want it to not be tainted. And we have instances dating back to fucking 1919 when the Chicago Black Sox threw the fucking World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can't tell me, oh, that would never happen now. I'm sorry, but if you think that there's not money on the line that somebody might you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars, somebody's not going to tell you to, hey, maybe fumble that snap right there, or hey, you know what, go down in the 3rd, like whatever it is. And again, I'm not saying that I have specific instances that I'm like, that was clear. Like, it's just, there's a lot of questionable things that as you watch more sports, you know the flow of the game, or the flow of the fight. And when something weird happens, you start to, as somebody who's watched enough, your eyebrow kind of peeks up and you're like, that was weird.
Dude,
like, that was weird.
Nobody
else thinking this is weird right now? Because I thought that was fucking weird.
He looked great in the second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's happening in the third?
So like it's just
he's got a different face on.
A lot of questions, and I really hope that the acquisition of the WWE doesn't taint anything for the UFC, and I hope the UFC does address their judging issues, because like I said, Michelle Waterson got fucking robbed in that last fight.
Explain it. I didn't watch.
Okay, so
I didn't catch it.
I forget.
Was it just like you went into the decision like for sure it was Waterson?
There's no question.
And she lost.
I mean,
Was it a
I
split or was it like
no
a majority
Let
decision?
me see real quick. She was fighting. I'm so sorry. I hate to be looking shit up. I should have had this shit ready.
Oh, you're good. We have this ready. We had no idea.
Yeah, I know. She was fighting Luana Pinheiro.
Okay.
Pinheiro. And I had that fight. Round 1, easily Michelle Watterson, no fucking question. Round 3, Michelle Watterson, no question.
Mm-hmm.
Round 2 could have been a split.
Okay.
So either way, it's going to be Michelle Watterson.
Yeah.
They come out and one judge gave all 3 rounds to Pinheiro. And I'm like, what fight were you watching?
Yeah.
And they gave the decision to Pinheiro. And I'm standing there like I'm up out of my seat. Like cussing at the TV by myself in my basement. Like cuz that's how I watch the fights. I take notes during the fights and then do the post-fight show. And this is coming off of a fight right before it. With
high profile?
Cynthia Calvillo and Lupita Godinez.
I remember Calvillo.
Yeah, Lupi Godinez got the decision, and I'm sitting there going, Calvillo won that fight, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Straight up.
What is the criteria in which we are breaking down these fights? Because the judges and the spectators are, and I'm not just a spectator. I'm a experienced watcher,
and you're
I
taking
understand
notes.
Judging. I'm taking notes. I know like how the flow of this should go. I know what they should be scoring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're up 20 significant strikes and 20 total strikes on the person, you've done more damage. I think you run round 1 and 3, and then one of the judges gives 3-0 to the other opponent. I'm like, what fucking fight are you watching? And what was your qualifications to be on this judging panel?
They go, I forgot I was actually judging a fight. Let's see, 50-50, who do I choose? And just circle one.
But it's things like that make you go, something was weird there. Are you guys just trying to push Michelle Watterson out of the promotion to bring somebody up? What is the fight? Like what's the fight? What's the
agenda?
And I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of questions. It goes back to me being a why kid, being like, why? What the fuck was that? Like, what are we watching here? So, I just hope the acquisition doesn't.
Oh, by the way, cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers, brother.
Having a good time?
I'm having a fucking blast. This is probably one of my favorite podcasts I've ever been on. So outside of my own, of course.
Well, and I'm like I said,
again, I appreciate you, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
I appreciate you. This has been awesome.
You been having fun?
Hell yeah.
Fuck yes.
I'm not in any rush too, so we can go as long as you want.
Yeah, my only concern was that these are on batteries. So if you see yours go beep and like turn black.
Okay, I think we got. I can't really tell.
I always look at mine because this one dies first before that one. So when that one dies, we'll just keep this thing rolling. That'll be my time tracker thing on the editing. And then I'll just pop new batteries in there, charging over there.
Cool. You're good.
But the thing is, you don't want to question that because the whole thing about a sport, whether it's NFL, whether it's hockey, whether it's baseball, whether it's fighting, you're like, this is like me watching Rocky. You know what I mean? Like, who's better? Who's
better?
Who's talented? Who? They're both equally talented. They both have the skill. They both work their asses off. But who is the champ?
Yeah.
You know? And that's the whole reason we watch. And for me, if you take that away, I'm out. But there's one thing, which is one championship. Have you ever watched any kind of one like Muay Thai?
One. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you just meant like one championship. I was like, which one?
There's one championship.
Yeah. I've watched one when Ben Askren was in. I'm a big Ben Askren fan. Josh is gonna hate me for that. But,
you are?
Yeah, I'm a big Ben Askren fan.
All right, get out.
I watched him ever since he was a college wrestler, and then he went to the Olympics. Then he went to Bellator. Watched him all through Bellator. Watched him in one. Got to the UFC. So I was a big follower of Ben Askren.
Then you're probably the white kid who questioned the Ben Askren career. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, why wasn't he in the UFC beforehand? Dana just didn't like his style. Okay, well, that's weird because he was beating everybody. He was undefeated when he came to the UFC.
It makes no sense.
Beating real talent, beating killers out there.
Like, I'll feed him to someone who will literally kill him.
And then he beat him.
Yes.
Comes in, he gave him Robbie Lawler because he wanted to see his ass get knocked out. And he got his face punched in by a Mack truck. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
And then I thought the fight was going to be stopped in that. And then he got up, submitted Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, the bulldog choke.
That was still questionable. And when you go on, and Herb Dean was on Joe Rogan's podcast explaining that, why he called the fight there.
You can see the limp.
Everybody thought it was limp. The announcers thought he was out. Herb Dean thought he was out. The position that he was in was a very compromising position for the opponent's neck.
Yeah.
And when you have a questionable position of safety and you have what looks to be a limp fighter, that's a no-brainer. That you got to call that fight. So
you're calling it.
There's controversy in that, but it was more, just the situation, so, and then obviously Jorge Masvidal did what he did to him. So,
Yeah.
that's just what it is what it is, man. That's the fight game.
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's, like I said, there's a piece of life where my favorite thing, I don't know where I heard it or if it's something I picked up and I'm going to drop to you and drop to them, but it's like, you have to be a why kid. Like, you have to question why this is this, why this is that, why this is this. Because if you, at least for me, if I don't have a solid answer, why am I answering at all? Like, if I don't feel confident in being like, oh, it's because they told me to, I'm like, well, then why did they tell me that?
Yeah, why'd they tell me that?
Follow the trail. You know what I'm saying?
My biggest problem with people today is that they'll regurgitate something without actually putting any thought into it. And I've been somebody who's done that myself, and then even gone back and gone like, dude, I actually didn't really know the answer to that. Why did I answer so quickly? Yeah. So I've been trying to stop doing that as much. But I think when you are not a skeptic, but you view life through a lens of possible skepticism.
Yeah.
Not negativity, not you're not a Debbie Downer, but to question anything, whether anybody tells you anything, whether it's, an authority figure, going back to authority, whether, whatever it is, you got to look at it with a grain of salt and go, okay, let me break this down logically and think what is the reasoning behind this? Or what, is this just something you said because somebody told you, because somebody told them? Is there some way you can do it better? Is there some nefarious reason? Like, whatever it is. And I think that helps me as a, whatever this job we do is
I'm calling you a journalist,
analyst,
bro.
I'm not a journalist, man. I like to think of myself as,
you sound like one.
It's just at the end of the day, truth is truth. And the truth will set you free. Like, and it really will. Like, I don't want to live in a world where it's full of lies, and especially not in sports when you've got fanatic fans in all cities who care about, that people people love sports so much, they'll do the craziest shit for sports. You see fan fanatics. The reason they're called fans is because fans is short for fanatic.
Yeah.
Because you're obsessed with these people that bring you joy in your life, and you don't want to find out that the sport you like, whether it's UFC, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, whether it's women's college swimming, whether it's fucking whatever the sport is, whether it's hurling. Like,
I love rowing.
I'm a huge chess fan. Like, no. But
I love the Queen's Gambit.
You want the honesty in the thing that's pure, which is sports. People revert to sports to escape from their daily lives.
Yeah.
Because whatever you've got going on, hey, at the end of the day, though, the freaking Chiefs are playing on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for Sunday.
I got 4 hours of nothing to do but watching the
just
Chiefs.
Enjoy. Like, hopefully I just get to sit back and enjoy this thing that I love, that brings me peace and solace and a little bit of excitement and happiness. And when that starts to get questioned, that's really going to tick people off, because your job can tick you off on a large scale. And so it's just the integrity of, especially as somebody who's competed in sports.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who've never played sports in their life. Once you play a sport and you find out that there was some shady shit going on, that should piss you off even more.
Oh yeah.
Because you're like, dude, you know how much man hours, blood, sweat, and tear, training, just all the time I've put into this thing, and it was out of our hands.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're telling me it was out of my hands?
You're like, it was.
Why did I fucking play in the first place?
It was in my hands because I play.
Yeah.
And you're like, but it isn't.
But it's not, apparently. Like that. So
yeah.
I just hate that can creep into sports, because what do the sports do? They're billion-dollar industries.
Yeah.
And money, if anybody knows anything about shit in this one, I'm not spitting shit that nobody knows. Money rules all. And that's why the last thing you wanted to touch is sports, because people put so much emphasis and love and passion and man hours, sweat, tears, fans, players, athletes, put so much into that's the last thing that you want to have any questions about.
Well, and for me, it was like, because I used to watch fights where I call it the casual spectator or the knock 'em out guys.
Yeah.
Knock 'em out.
Just fucking punch him, dude. What are you doing? Just punch him.
I'm like, they have to set it up, shithead. You know what I mean? Like,
idiot.
And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, they're professional athletes. They've done this for like 10 years plus.
You think if he could knock him out, he wouldn't?
Yeah, he'd be like, I see a perfect shot right here, but I'm not going to.
I'm just not going to do it. Like, what?
And so it's like there's things that get set up. And I remember jiu-jitsu was that for me. I used to watch and be like, fuck off. Look, I'm on the ground doing this thing. But now, as I've been like, and I'm not super active in it for the last probably 6 months. When this kind of kicked off, it was
Yeah.
like, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'll get back to that when like maybe this is the thing, and then I have a little more time open. But I fucking loved it because it wasn't the fact of like I choked you out. It's the fact that I got there in a 20-step process to get you to think it's human chess, man.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Human chess.
That's why people, like you said, the knock 'em out guys, they'll watch fight. Those are the casuals. They watch the fights and they go, stop hugging each other, stop sniff, like to take a line from Jorge Masvidal.
You're like, he's
stop
setting it up.
crotch sniffing, man. Like fucking just punch him, dude. Like, no, dude, they're literally engaging in the highest level of mixed martial arts that you can have.
Yeah.
And both of these guys are really good. So the fact that they're playing chess, like when they're on the ground, what do we got?
Oh,
Uh-oh, one of them died.
boom. I
Shoot.
told you. Okay.
Okay,
Hold on.
sorry.
Is yours still on?
Mine's still on.
Okay. Keep going. With
I'll
your
keep
thing.
going. So one of the things that I hate is when people are like, "Yo, get off the ground, get off the cage." I'm like, dude, that's part of the game. And when you start to learn to respect that part of the game, when you start to learn to respect the ground chess matches, how people set up submissions, how people utilize and neutralize the wrestling aspect, or they're using their wrestling to neutralize an opponent. That's one of the coolest things. Like, I love the ground game just as much. And that's why I think I was such a big Ben Askren fan. And I know there's a lot of Ben Askren haters out there. Whatever. You guys can go fucking suck a dick. You guys can suck a dick, baby. Because he never did it punching somebody. He was meticulous in his ground game, and he was one of the best in the world at it. And it gave me a newfound appreciation for ground fighting, just strategy, how you chose to break somebody down, look for an opening in the smallest of windows, and then be able to go ahead and attack and capitalize on the smallest mistake. You know what I mean? So those types of things made me enjoy the sport even more. So
Yeah. Well, same thing. I just want to let you know that thing right there.
Yeah.
It's the card. So I'll have to replace the card.
Oh, you're
So
good.
I just want to let you finish that so I can replace all
No,
this stuff.
you're good. Is it dead?
Yeah. So I have to get there's another card over there somewhere.
Do you need to do it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because now I don't got break time. This is break time.